Today I want to talk about Paul. Paul, who wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. You know, Jesus didn't write 2/3 of the New Testament. Paul wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. But Paul was such a powerful person. And I want to say this, that Paul always went the extra mile. He went the extra mile. He didn't let anything get in his way. When he went to tell somebody about Christ, he didn't look at the obstacle. He looked at the reward that he would get by pursuing people to Christ. And Paul was very strategic. And when you study the writings of Paul, he was a genius. He had the Spirit of God, but the man was a genius. You know, I've studied recently again, you know, in the book of the 27th book of Acts, you know, it says that if he didn't keep saying, I want to see Caesar, he could have been done with his trial. But he kept on saying, I got to get to see Caesar. But they would have released him. But because of his obstinance, in a good way, he went through a lot of trials, but he got his message out. And every time that Paul spoke, he stood up. Think about this when you read the scriptures. He stood up in front of people. He says that I want to address the courts. And he had a message that was tailored. My God, think about it. He was tailoring a message for all men. And what he would do is he would preach about Christ. He knew that the people that he was speaking into, the governors, weren't actually going to listen to him. Although I believe it was Festus that said, you've almost converted me. My God. Can you imagine just being almost converted? That's a scary thing that governor says, you almost, Paul, converted me. You almost touched my heart. My God, what a sorry man that is today, that he didn't give his life over to Christ. He didn't give his life over to the message of God. And those few words, you've almost converted me. My God, they're ringing in that man's ear today and saying, my God. And I hope I'm not talking to some people say, hey, prophet, you've almost converted me. My God, don't be almost converted. Be converted to understand that Jesus Christ is Lord. Well, let me go and take you into the story. Paul goes on a boat, and they're heading for an island. And Paul gets on this boat, and the trip starts off successful. But what happens is, winds start to come. And I'm just giving you the story real quick, and I'm paraphrasing so you understand it. And as the winds start to come, Paul starts to realize that we are not going to do well on this boat. And the winds come. Now Paul makes an announcement. He says, people, I don't believe we're going to have a good trip. And I believe that we've got some problems ahead of us. I believe, you know, like Pastor Ray Skanks was just on a cruise ship, and he said the waves, I've never heard of this, were 9-10 foot high. He said he was petrified to this storm that he's seen. Pastor Ray's one of the greatest pastors at the upper room there. And I was thinking about that, and he really sparked this message. But Paul understood that. But that night, Paul has a visitation from an angel. And here's what the angel says. The angel says, hey, Paul, this boat is going to go through some trauma. But God's going to make it. He's going to do you a solid here. Not one person's going to get hurt on this boat. But they got to stay in the boat. My God, people, there's safety in the boat. Paul knew. He got up that morning after he spoke to that angel and said, he knew, he prophesied there would nothing happen to this boat because the angel of the Lord put it in him. I tell you, people, I hear on TV, I hear on radio, and I want to caution you, people telling me angels are showing up in their rooms, and angels, and I hear preachers, angels are showing up. But I want to remind you, and I just want to get you to understand the way the Bible works. Anytime an angel showed up, it was for a specific time and a specific event. They didn't just show up so you would get goosebumps. They showed up to give you God's instructions. So don't listen to this nonsense when they tell you that an angel's coming into the sanctuary. Right? Believe me, it's so far-fetched. And you know what I learned too? The only person that sees that angel is the guy that's saying it. You don't see it. And I just want to tell you that I don't want you to get duped in this hour. I believe in the supernatural. I believe in the power of God. I believe an angel can show up, but not as frequently as some make it sound. And I want you to take caution that they're not pushing a gospel to entice your itching ear. But Paul did have a visitation, and he spoke to those people. And those people knew when they started to see that wind, they listened. Now, some of them wanted to jump off. Paul said, don't do it. You'll be in safety. I want to tell you, when an apostle, and that's what Paul was, he was an apostle. When that apostle spoke, people listened. We got it wrong today. We got it when E.F. Hutton speaks, people listen. I believe that when a bishop like Anthony D'Onofrio, a true apostle, not because he's my friend, because I've seen his works, when he speaks, people should listen. People should honor his gifting. And I want to tell you, there are other apostles in the land. We need to listen to what they have to say. The apostolic ministry was put here as a safety measure. Some of you think right now that you can run from different churches, that you can get out of church, and I'm going to go do this on my own. I'm telling you, don't get off the boat. Don't get off the boat. There is safety in the boat. There is safety staying in your local church. Oh, but you don't understand, prophet. My church, they've got some things that they don't do right. I want to tell you this, take it from me. If you were running that church, you'd make some of the same mistakes that they made. Why do you think that man wouldn't make mistakes? Man makes mistakes. But the Bible says that God does not look on the outward like we do. He says he looks at the heart of a person. So I tell you, judge not, lest you be judged. I want you to read, anyone that has a problem with judging, read Romans 2nd chapter, the first few verses there. It'll teach you something about judging. And I've been studying it because I, at times, have a problem with judging. And it comes with the prophetic calling. I've got to judge correctly. And sometimes I miss it by a little bit, and God's teaching me. Don't judge with the natural eyes. Judge with what I show you, my son. And that's what I'm learning more and more to do. And that means that even an enemy of mine, I should be able to prophesy to that person with accuracy without thinking about why he's an enemy to me. Interesting, right? You know, we got people prophesying to people, they don't even like the person, and the prophecy comes out incorrectly. It's not of God, it's the man or woman's emotions. So be careful how you hear. You know, some man recently asked me, he said, you know, come in my car, listen to this preacher. He puts it on for 10 seconds. I listen to him. I said, no, shut that off. He says, no, this guy's good. I said, no, he's not good. And not only that, he's got some erroneous doctrine, because I listened now a few minutes. He says to me, well, I agree, but he says, I eat the meat and I throw out the bones. I said, well, I'm not as sharp as you. I don't want this thing coming into my spirit that he's preaching and then have to dissect it. It's too complicated for me. I wasn't called to that. And he was my friend. He understood. But take heed how you hear. Don't listen to all the nonsense. Some people come on the TV, they got an axe to grind. Some people come on TV with a very small mentality. They see the church as us four and no more. But I believe the church is going to be populated with people of God. Back to my story. Now Paul says that the boat will not get harmed. He tells them throw all their food off. My God, throw everything off. He's stripping the boat of everything so the boat has a little more tolerance. And then the Bible says that this boat lands on land. But when they look at the boat in this storm, the front and the back of this boat is missing. Can you imagine that? It's like the Titanic. But Paul seen that nobody was hurt. But the splinters of all the wood were in the water. And the people had to walk on those splinters to get to land. I tell you, people, that you may be in a boat, that the boat may be rocking. You may be in a marriage that it's rocking and you don't understand what's going on. The storm is so fierce. You may be in a drug addiction, an alcohol addiction, and it's so bad and it's so, you don't know how to get out of it. But I tell you, in the storm, Jesus Christ makes a way. He'll take the little bit of wood from that accident of that boat and he'll get you to dry land. He'll take the little bit that you have. Some of you are suffering with financial problems, but he'll take the little bit you have if you would submit it to him, and he'll multiply it.